Welcome to the Learning to Love podcast. I'm Paul Moschetta.
And I'm Evelyn Moschetta. We are marriage counselors who are married and living and working together for over 40 years.
In our interviews with couples in strong, healthy marriages, we discovered that the values they held as important, the values which guided their lives, were different from ordinary personal preferences. They were core eternal values. They are core or central because they are an intrinsic, natural part of our uniquely human nature. And they are timeless because they don't change, no matter what the situation or circumstance we may find ourselves in. We've already described two of these values: truth, experienced as personal integrity, and harmony, which takes the form of psychological order inside ourselves and between us as a couple. Today we'll be talking about the value of goodness. We grew up being told to be good, where good is understood as the opposite of bad. In this narrow, limited context, goodness is equated with obedience, with compliance and conformity. Obey a set of rules and you'll be seen as good rather than bad. But goodness, understood as a core eternal value, is not the opposite of that which is seen as bad. Rather, goodness is synonymous with the beauty and innocence of pure, unselfish caring and compassion, of genuine sincerity, free of motive and self-interest. It was these qualities of goodness that strongly attracted the husband and wives we interviewed to one another. They repeatedly used descriptions such as goodness, kindness, thoughtfulness, and clear concern for others as the main factors which drew them together.
As it turns out, goodness is a strong aphrodisiac. There is great beauty in its innocence and simplicity. Being in the presence of goodness has a strong effect on us. We want to bask in its light. Seeing genuine goodness in another person fills us with a warm desire to be close to him or her, because that goodness pulls out the same quality in us. When you see consistent, genuine goodness in your partner, it touches the deepest part of you. It creates in you a passion for the person. This kind of passion for the person, is separate and apart from sexual passion. It's a passion for the kindness, sincerity, and caring you see in them. In their goodness, you see your own best self reflected, so you delight in being in their company. This is why you hear people say, "I love being with him. I feel so good around her." When physical attraction combines with passion for the person, a powerful bond of love is created. Gina's comment about her attraction to Craig echoes the theme of passion for the person we repeatedly hear from both husbands and wives in strong relationships. She said, "I care a great deal for him, but I think the love came much later. I was attracted to his seriousness, to his integrity, to his goodness. I felt deeply that I could trust him, that I could allow myself to be totally open and vulnerable. I was attracted to his genuineness. He's so real. There's no pretense about him, nothing artificial. And the way he looked at me, so intense, so deeply interested. We became good friends, and from that grew tremendous physical attraction and sexual excitement."
Keeping passion for the person alive between you will depend on how you treat one another. Being good to one another is key, but goodness doesn't have to be sought after like one more acquisition. It will emerge naturally when you withdraw your more self-centered tendencies. Make a commitment to goodness by letting go of the following. 1. Let go of your need to be right. When your ego is on the scene, it demands to be right because being right gives it a false sense of security and control. In order to be right, it will find every opportunity to make your partner wrong. Letting go of needing to be right helps unplug the power from your ego. 2. Let go of your need to feel superior. Because your selfish self is basically insecure, it's always searching for ways to be one up in order to feel superior and better than others. It's unrealistic to feel really connected to someone you feel is either beneath or above you. 3, let go of your need for approval. Be genuine. Don't say yes when you mean no. Once you accept and are in touch with your true self, you don't need anyone else's praise, nor do you fear anyone else's disapproval. 4, let go of consistently putting your needs first. In fact, do the opposite. Make it a priority to put your partner's needs at the top of your list. Goodness is generous and giving. It makes no demands. Make it a practice to be just as interested in your partner's needs as you are in your own. 5, let go of any images you're carrying about yourself or your partner. Remember, when you project ahead, you create fear. And when you dwell in the past, you create depression. Live in the moment without images, fully present and not preoccupied. Only then are you accurately able to see and hear your partner. 6, finally, let go of a me-first mindset, which sees and reacts to every situation from only your point of view. Without empathy, how can there be love? Practice being able to put yourself in your partner's shoes. Adopt the question of asking yourself, what meaning does this same situation have for my partner? Most of the time, it will be very different.
When you both act with compassionate goodness, you create a deep and caring friendship. You integrate goodness into your life by daily acts of thoughtfulness, consideration, caring, and concern. At first, if you're not used to doing this, making an effort to do it might feel mechanical. You may even question, is this what I should do if I'm a good person? Don't be put off by feeling awkward. Eventually, your caring will flow easily and spontaneously because you have taken valuing goodness seriously. Unfortunately, some of us have been more strongly conditioned to shy away from goodness, to be skeptical of it, or feel we're not equal to giving and receiving it. We feel uncomfortable in its presence and do not welcome it into our lives. Consequently, we miss the benefits of an important growth and healing tool. Goodness soothes the dis-ease our ego self creates. It grounds us in what is worthwhile and genuine when so much around us is calculated and temporary. All of us would do well to check our resistance to goodness so that it flows more freely within and between us. So, how do we begin? Goodness begins with being kind to yourself, not self-centered pampering, but real caring, especially for the parts of yourself that you're unhappy with. Maybe you have doubts about how lovable you are, or you're not happy with how you look, or you see that you lack confidence, or that you have a tendency to be selfish, or to overreact in certain situations. It's not self-pity that you need. It's not blaming or criticizing yourself either. What you need is kindness and compassion for yourself. Where will it come from? Goodness, kindness, and compassion are your true nature, your real self. At the center of your being, you are pure goodness. Your true self radiates goodness. Every spiritual tradition known to us emphasizes the purity of your essential nature. What is to be gained from believing otherwise? Spiritual masters urge you to practice goodness, to hold it as a value that shapes your thoughts and your behavior, because they know it will point you back to your true identity. Tapping your innate goodness requires cutting through the smokescreen your ego self throws up to keep you confused about who and what you really are.
Goodness will flower in you as you keep the following pointers alive in your awareness. 1. Always remember your true identity, which is your best self, not your ego. Living from this awareness will bring joy into your life. Don't allow your false ego to convince you that you are anything else. 2. Consistently remind yourself that all your sufferings and shortcomings belong to the false self of your ego. When doubts, fears, and insecurities arise, hold on to the truth of your being. Take your stand in the witness, silently observe the insecurities, and let them pass right through you. 3. Edit your inner self-talk. Know that the small ego self always works toward having the same goal, more and more control over your thoughts and feelings. It wants to be the only voice in your head that you hear. Notice when it has a strong negative message or when you're puffing yourself up. And notice how often you're lost into the past or projecting into the future. 4. When angry thoughts arise, stand back, observe them, and be still. Let them pass through you like a cool breeze. If you don't act on angry feelings, if you don't give them life by getting involved with them, they will eventually pass. 5. Be your own loving parent. If you've never had a loving parent, act as if a loving parent would by doing what you would do for any hurt or injured child. You comfort, reassure, and whenever need be, forgive. Be patient with yourself. With a loving, kind voice, remind yourself, calm down, it's all right, everything is going to be fine.
Many marriages self-destruct because the partners in them cannot go past themselves to make the other an important priority. So many of us identify only with our ego self that being number one is all we care about. And present-day society caters to and reinforces the ego's selfishness. Having more and the best of everything seems to be all that matters. Marriages built solely on the ego's self-centeredness are flimsy and superficial. The partners in them do not have a sense of meaning about their lives that go past me thinking. Depression abounds today, partly because our expanded self, our sense of self-importance, hides an emptiness inside ourself. The ego tries to fill that emptiness with more and more self-interest, self-centeredness. Goodness, on the other hand, is an effective antidote for the selfishness of a me-first mentality. Why? Because goodness requires empathy and commitment, the ability to invest yourself, your time, your energy, and your interest in a larger purpose beyond self-interest. It means being less concerned about yourself so you can be more concerned about others. Victor is a successful writer and reporter for a major newspaper. The creative challenge he faces each day brings him a sense of pride and satisfaction. But when asked what it is that's really important to him, he said, "On a day-to-day basis, the nature of my profession demands a great deal of creativity. It's constantly coming out. So one of the things that I have to hold on to is being able to continually do this. But that's not the God I live for. The God I live for is really to serve people. I love people, and I enjoy being with them. The day-to-day thing in our life that governs both my wife and myself is to serve people. Wherever we are needed, we go. I feel a joy in working with people, using my time professionally and otherwise in seeing that I can do something for others. And my wife is very much the same way. We see this very closely."
Martin, a corporate executive, makes this observation: "I've become much more interested and concerned about other people. Too often in a corporate structure, there's very little time for personal development except as it relates to your job performance. All my personal growth was related to making money and moving up the success ladder. In business, you get paid for your mind and your hands. Your feelings are worth nothing. Your feelings, in fact, are a detriment to you. And if you don't get paid for them, you're not going to use them. But I've learned to see people as people and not just objects that I can use to implement this or that different strategy. It's a whole different way of life to look at a person as a person, to see their value, their worth, before jumping right away into whether they can do something for you or not."
Holding on to core eternal values changes how you as a couple approach life itself. Crisis, conflicts, and difficult transitions are lived through with less frustration, bitterness, and resentment. This basic change in outlook helps you meet life with less inner turmoil. You stop fighting against its natural current, not by being passive, but by seeing life's challenges as opportunities for expressing your best self. You give up obsessing about results and put all your energy into doing what is needed now. You allow life to unfold and let happen whatever will happen. Gwen saw her growth in these terms. After I got married and had children, one of whom was born with a severe disability, I began to realize that you have to come to terms with life. Life won't dish everything out on your terms, so you have to come to terms with it. And I think that's a real growth. It mellows you and makes you feel more at peace. Otherwise, you're always fighting, wanting things to happen just the way you want it to be or else. So I know I've grown in patience, understanding, and compassion. And because of that, I'm a better person, more fulfilled, much more happy, more of a good, open person. More than any other factor, it's living out the values of truth, harmony, and goodness that expands your love beyond a survival mentality. Once these values become your new guiding life principle, your ego self is merged into and is directed by your best self. Then your marriage, sharing each day together, celebrates and amplifies your love. No matter what life presents, being together feels like a blessing.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, thank you so much for listening.